I should have known not to get comfortable with a Faith No More song. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly and in this video I'm going to be listening to the album King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime by the band Faith No More. Now I am just starting to get into Faith No More's music. So far I have only heard their fourth studio album Angel Dust, which kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I'm definitely curious now to dive further into more of Faith No More's albums, and I decided to move forward in their discography. So this is their fifth studio album that followed Angel Dust. It was released in 1995, and yeah, I'm really excited to hear this one and see what else Faith No More is going to bring to their music. Alright, so up first is track 1, which is called Get Out. Very prominent percussion here at the start. Get out right now! That bass, it's got a great grooviness to it. No fun! Well, that was the opening track, Get Out. Definitely a very prominent rock sound to that one. A lot of aggression, like especially in his vocals. He had that great growliness going on. I would say compared to Angel Dust, this first track already sounds like this album might be bringing a more rock heavy side to Faith No More's sound. I could be wrong though, but Angel Dust kind of had like a funkiness to it. It fused a lot of genres, and I'll be curious to see if King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, they maybe go in a more rock heavy direction. I don't know, we'll have to find out. But great start to get this album underway, and I'm just gonna move on now to track 2, which is called Ricochet. I really love the sound of these guitars. They have this drawn out noise to them. It's like a quality that makes the music sound like it's really spread out almost. Yeah, this song really does keep going back and forth. It has these sections that are really pulled open and extended. I don't know if that makes sense. Just really drawn out with their sound. But then they kind of bring it all together and bring more of a powerful sound on the chorus. I love the cymbals they're using for the percussion. Well, that was track 2, Ricochet. I loved the tone of that song. The instrumentals were just weirdly relaxing to listen to, like on those verses when they were so drawn out. I'm also noticing on this album so far, Mike Patton is definitely keeping his voice a little bit more, dare I say, like normal sounding. I'm definitely recognizing his voice. He has a very distinct tone to it, but I know some of the craziness that he's done on previous projects like Mr. Bungle and Angel Dust. So I'm curious to see if later on with this album, he's going to bring more of that experimentation and craziness to his voice, or if they're kind of going for this more accessible rock sound on this album. All right, moving on to track 3, we have Evidence. Okay, this one might have some of that funkiness I was talking about. If you want to open the hole, wash it away. Okay, we got some piano coming in. Man, there's just such a relaxing, smooth jazz quality to this song. You won't feel me. His vocals on this one are very clear, and they're very up front and center on certain parts. Like just then it almost sounded like he was right by my ear. I didn't feel a thing. love the atmosphere on this too. This kind of slight echoiness that they're utilizing. Well, that was track 3, Evidence. That was a really fun one. Super funky and jazzy with its sound. I love how relaxing, though, that song was, even though it was weirdly danceable at the same time. And his voice on that one, too, was very calm and nothing too crazy out of the box for Mike Patton. It just had a really nice, clear tone to it. But moving on now to track 4, we have The Gentle Art of Making Enemies. Okay, now some heavier tones are back with this one. More of that rock sound again.
Same mistakes, it doesn't have to be like this. Don't you look so surprised? Happy birthday, fucker! I never done this back alive! Your day has finally come.
These verses are so ominous. There's like a dark tone to them, really pulled in. And then they just bring that awesome craziness that I love from Faith No More on the chorus.
I deserve a reward, 'cause I'm the best fuck that you ever had. There's always an easy way out. There's always an easy way.
His voice is just so growly and intense.
Wanna hear your very basic girl.
Well, that was track 4, The Gentle Art of Making Enemies. I would say that is the first track on this album that has just brought all that crazy, wild noise and experimentation that I have come to expect from Mike Patton in general. That song had that in spades. It just had this manic aggression on the verse, but then the choruses were so pulled in and kind of ominous sounding and creepy. So up next is track 5, which is called Star AD. Alright, this one's bringing a little bit of a theatrical flair to it. It almost sounds like something you'd hear as part of like a Broadway soundtrack. His vocals are just like kind of bouncing around in my headphones now. There's such this echoey quality to it. Well, that was certainly an entertaining track. That was track 5, Star AD. Again, I loved his voice on that track. He's just able to bring so many different sounds to it. Like, he can express a lot of emotion, but also a sort of playful, really fun side to Faith No More's sound through his voice. But up next is track 6, which is called Cuckoo for Caca. Okay, this one's just going for it. It's bringing the intensity, that's for sure. I never get tired of their music. Just Mike Patton in general, I never know what to expect. I love that we just had that last track, which was so theatrical, and it sounded more like a Broadway musical. It had that vibe to it. And then this one is like very metal sounding. There's almost a new metal quality to it, like a sort of hip hop flow.
It's just a statement you can fucking
And only Faith No More would dare to put both tracks on the same album and make it work.
Take it from October Pop. Being good, it gets
That was track 6, Cuckoo for Caca. Absolutely loved that one. I loved everything about it. It definitely brought a ton of aggression to it. Probably the most punchy, energetic song on this album so far, but I just don't know how Faith No More does it. They are able to blend so many different genres and sounds in one project, which I absolutely love. It just makes for a lot of variety and it keeps the listener entertained throughout the course of the album. Moving on to track 7, we have Caralho Voador, if I'm saying that right. There's a really interesting kind of scratching percussive sound here.
My lips are moving, but there's no sound. Não posso dirigir e agora aparece.
Alright, we just had some vocals there in a different language. It might have been Portuguese, maybe? Now it almost sounds like there's some snapping that they're infusing for the percussion too. Well, that was track 7, Caralho Voador. Very smooth and relaxing, again, bringing back kind of that smooth jazz quality to it. But the percussive elements were, to me, what was really shining on that one. They were so fascinating to listen to. Just a lot of interesting noises. They weren't really using like a traditional drum set. But moving on to track 8, we have Ugly in the Morning. His vocals sound so far in the background or just really echoey and kind of reverberated. There's a great swing that this song has to its rhythm. Now this one is almost fusing that aggressive metal sound with a theatrical tone too. His vocals just keep getting more and more crazy. What even was that ending? It was like his voice was just building up intensity and then it got really garbled and it almost sounded like he was like throwing up or getting sick at the very end. Just a ton of craziness, but that was track 8, Ugly in the Morning, again bringing a more aggressive sound to Faith No More's music. His voice though always kind of stayed pushed more in the background, like it wasn't real up front in your face. So even though it had a lot of aggression coming out in the sound, it was never like super loud or anything, which I thought was kind of an interesting choice on their part to keep the song toned that way. All right, moving on to track 9, we have Digging the Grave. I like that really, really subtle kind of chimey sound to the percussion. And the instrumentals on this track are great. I mean, they are across this whole album, but on this song, I'm really just picking up on how polished they sound without sounding too overproduced, if that makes sense. That was track 9, Digging the Grave. That one just kind of started and didn't stop. It didn't really have like any sections where they suddenly pulled in the sound or made it really quiet. It was pretty much just energetic from start to finish. It had this really awesome kind of quickness, like a speediness to it. And the instrumentals are just really smooth and fluid throughout the whole thing. They're blending them all together really well. Like the percussion with those guitars, and then every now and again they'll throw in that bass too. And it's just working so well together. But up next is track 10, which is called Take This Bottle. Okay, they're slowing things down again on this one.
Because I've turned around.
There's a very strong country twang to this one.
Take this bottle and just walk away
I love that piano.
with a better roof over our heads. It passes on, gone. So listen to what I say and just walk away.
This sounds like a song you'd hear playing at the end of a movie. It has like this final note of conviction to it almost with its tone. Like it would make for a great ending credits song or something. That was track 10, Take This Bottle. I loved that song. That one was actually just gorgeous to listen to. It started off and I was a little unsure because it had this weird country sound to it, almost like a country song, but there was kind of an emotional delivery to that one as well, and they balanced it out with just some really fascinating instrumentation. I loved the twanginess to the guitar, and the piano too just kind of added a really cool melodic touch to that track. All right, up next is track 11, which is called King for a Day. I love how fun and kind of upbeat the instrumentals are. And then the vocals are so ominous sounding. Like he's got this really dark tone he's infusing on them. Okay, they're doing some really interesting change-ups on this one. I liked all of that echoiness there on the chorus. The instrumentals have a really awesome kind of crashing sound to them, almost like waves just coming in and crashing on shore. And then just like that, they pull you back to this acoustic guitar portion. It's kind of interesting. He keeps repeating this is the best party I've been to, but he sounds kind of melancholy and dejected when he's saying it. It's just like the tone is not matching the lyrics. I have goosebumps. This part is just so haunting. That was track 11, King for a Day. That one might be in contention with a couple others to be my favorite on this album. I love how at the start it was so warm and acoustic sounding with its tone, and then it just took on this really ominous, dark, kind of morbid sound to it, like at the end there. And again, they just blended everything so effectively on that track. It was just awesome to listen to. But I guess I'm just going to move on to track 12, which is called What a Day. This one has a very sharp rapidness from the instrumentals. That was unexpected. It almost sounded like an electric screwdriver or something. This part actually reminds me of System of a Down a little bit with this vocal delivery here. That was track 12, What a Day, just a short little roughly 2-minute one, just bringing the intensity, that's for sure. And I really do enjoy when Mike Patton brings that aggression to his voice, but he just has a way of delivering it where it's not like yelling or screaming, it's almost a more theatrical sounding vibe to it. I don't know how to explain it. The very end of that track is a good example of it. It just kind of brings a lot of power to it, but it still retains a sort of playful aspect to its sound as well. All right, up next is going to be track 13, which is called The Last to Know. Man, this one has a really big, grand sound to it here at the start. I think there's some stringed instruments too coming in now in the background. Again, it's kind of giving this song at times like a theatrical or almost an orchestral flair to it. These guitars have such a unique sound to them. It's almost like there's a tiny bit of distortion almost. It's like an electric guitar that they've kind of distorted. That was track 13, The Last to Know. Just kind of ended on this sort of staticky sound that was fading out there. But I loved the really big, wide open atmosphere of that song. It had such a grand sound to it. And then the orchestral instrumentation that they introduced as well just really helped highlight that and add to that sound. But I am really curious to see how this album is going to end. So last up we have track 14, which is called Just a Man. Alright, that's the same tone they used on track 10, Take This Bottle. It's almost got that country sound to it again, like just a tiny little bit. Okay, now it's like this track just got elevated or something, like it got kind of an injection of life to it almost. I love this piano. There's a sort of bounciness to this song that I'm enjoying. It's got a great, relaxing back and forth quality.
Man was born to love.
I should have known not to get comfortable with a Faith No More song.
To hold the terrible power, to whom only gods are blessed. I am just a man.
Alright, and now they've got like a chorus coming in and adding backup vocals. Well, that was track 14, Just a Man, the final song on King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. A very grand way to bring this album to a close with all of those hymnal sounds and the chorus coming in to add backup vocals at the end there. But how it started off with that kind of bluesy sounding grooviness, and then they brought more of a punchy delivery to it. And then at the end, it almost got like this really hopeful angelic tone. It's like they can take so many different sounds and just wrap it into one song, and it just works amazingly well. Alright, well that concludes my reaction to King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, the 5th studio album from Faith No More. I cannot begin to describe how entertained I was listening to this album. The variety of sounds, yet again, just like Angel Dust, just impressed me so much. They don't really have like one signature sound, they do so much, and they do it all so well, which is just really impressive. But this whole album was great. I think upon first listen, some of the standouts for me would be track 3, Evidence. It had a great, like, smooth, jazzy quality to it that I just loved. Cuckoo for Caca just had so much punchiness and aggressiveness to it. And then King for a Day, the atmosphere on that one was just fantastic. I loved it. But yeah, yeah, so far I have heard 2 Faith No More albums and have really enjoyed both of them, so I definitely want to continue on with their discography. I don't know which direction to go in next, if I should go back to their first album or if I should continue moving ahead in their discography. Definitely let me know down in the comments, and yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.